Y'all know that saying hindsight is 2020. We know how true that is because when you've gone through something and you look back, you can say, "Oh, I can see it so clearly now." But what happens when you are a Christ follower and you are in the midst of a spiritual battle where you don't even feel like you can breathe and you're crying out to God, just hoping and praying that He hears you, and you're wondering why all of this is going on and you can't understand it until months or years later, you look back and you go, "Oh, I see. That had to happen so that I could get where I'm at today." Well, those "so that" moments in your life is the premise of this YouTube channel that I truly feel like God is calling me to start. So if you are new here, my name is Audrey. I am a wife, a mom, a grandmother of 10 grandchildren. I serve on my church on the prayer team, and I have been walking with the Lord since I was 13 years old. Of course, at the age of 15, I turned away from my faith and did what Audrey wanted to do. Because of circumstances that had happened when I was younger, and not understanding, finding the root of situations and circumstances in your life to be able to get set free from it. But at the age of 15, I kind of walked away, lived my own life, and went down a dark road, a dark path that led me to many places that God was in. And God was there in every single season of my life, bringing me back to Him. And so if you are a woman of faith, if you're a mom, if you're a grandmother, if you are a mom of wayward children, if you have really questioned your faith or asked God, "Why me?" or "How could you let this happen?" If you have lost a loved one after praying for them and God still took them home and you were devastated, if you have suffered with depression and oppression and anxiety and thoughts of suicide, then I want you to stick around and subscribe to this channel, because this channel is going to bring you hope in the midst of everything that you're going through. These are God's "so that" moments that you're walking through. And I figured that in this very first video that I want to share with you how these God's "so that" moments came about and how they have helped me in the last 5 or so years get through some of the darkest times of my life. And so let's jump right in. Years ago, I think it was back in 2015 or 16, I was reading through the book of Exodus. And if you haven't heard the story, go back and read the story of Pharaoh and Moses, right? And so here is Moses. God has sent Moses to Pharaoh to set his people free. And you find in the book of Exodus, and it's called Exodus because they are exiting Egypt. And so in that book, God says, "Hey, listen, Moses, I need you to go and I need you to tell Pharaoh to let my people go. But here's the thing is he's not going to let him go. And I'm going to be sending plagues upon him and he's going to harden his heart. And so, but I still need you to go." I just want to show you the "so that" moments that are in here that actually started me down this journey of God's "so that" moments. So let's start at chapter 7, where Aaron is going to be Moses' spokesman. "So the Lord said to Moses, 'See, I have made you as God to Pharaoh, and Aaron your brother shall be your prophet. You shall speak all that I command you, and Aaron your brother shall tell Pharaoh to send the children of Israel out of his hand. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart and multiply my signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. but Pharaoh will not heed you, so that I may lay my hand on Egypt and bring my armies and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord when I stretch out my hand on Egypt and bring out the children of Israel from among them. So this is God speaking to Moses, and he's telling him this is about what's about to go down. Okay, so the plagues haven't started or anything. So Moses goes in to tell Pharaoh. Now the first few plagues Pharaoh hardens his own heart. So it's Pharaoh that says, no, I've hardened my heart. No. So in chapter 8 and verse 10, it says, so he said, now this is Moses said to Pharaoh, accept the honor of saying, when I shall intercede for you, for your servants and for your people, to destroy the frogs from you and your houses, so that you may remain in the river only. So he said, tomorrow. And he said, let it be according to your words, so that you may know that there is no one like the Lord our God. So that was Moses telling Pharaoh about praying for the frogs and everything. And he's saying, listen, it's going to happen so that you know there's no like the Lord our God. There's no one like the Lord our God. So it was a so that moment. Okay. So then we continue on, and let's see. Then there was another one. Okay. So this is the 7th plague, which was the hail. And this is chapter 9, verse 13. Then the Lord said to Moses, rise early in the morning and stand before Pharaoh and say to him, thus says the Lord God of the Hebrews, let my people go so that they may serve me. For at this time I will send all my plagues to your very heart and on your servants, on your people, so that you may know that there is none like me in all the earth. So I as I'm reading this and I'm going on, I'm like, gosh, all these things really had to happen so that really, God, you could be glorified. Like you could be magnified. Like the Egyptians would know, and even the Israelites know that, I mean, you are God, the one true God, right? And then in verse 29, so Moses said to him, as soon as I have gone out of the city, I will spread out my hands to the Lord. The thunder will cease, and there will be no more hail, so that you may know that the earth is the Lord's. So he's saying the earth is the Lord's. There's no one like our God. There is no one like God of the Israelites. And then in the 8th plague, chapter 10, it says, now the Lord said to Moses, go into Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the hearts of his servants, so that I may show these signs of mine before him, and that you may tell in the hearing of your son and your son's son the mighty things I have done in Egypt, and my signs which I have done among them, that you may know that I am the Lord. It was God showing everyone, I am the Lord. All of these plagues, the hardening of Pharaoh's heart. And mind you, I did do a study. I'm not exactly sure, but it was years ago where they had said Pharaoh's heart was already hardened, because I was having a really hard time with that. I was like, Lord, you're hardening. I felt like, it was Pinocchio, where, you're doing the strings. And I'm like, what? Oh, you're just, hardening a heart. Softening a heart. I'm usually praying that you soften people's heart, and you're over here hardening the heart of Pharaoh. But when you read it and you're going through it, Pharaoh's heart was already hardened. It wasn't that God took somebody's soft, sweet, humble heart and hardened it. It was that Pharaoh's heart was already hardened. And so the last plagues is where you see God hardened his heart. Just harden it, I guess, more, but so be it. So after I had read that, I was just like, okay, that makes a lot more sense. And when you go back and read it, Pharaoh's heart was hardened. So this just continued on in chapter 11, verse 7, but against none of the children of Israel shall a dog move its tongue against man or beast, so that you may know that the Lord does make a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. And then again in verse 9, but the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh will not heed you, so that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. That was pretty much it. So those were the so that moments that were going on in the book of Exodus when I was reading this. And ever since reading this, I have started to, like, my spiritual eyes have been open to God's so that moments. So many times we are in the midst of just trials and tribulations that Jesus said we're going to go through. We're going to go through. But he said, be of good cheer. Like, that is the one thing as a Christ follower that we have and we get to walk through in this life. And that is the ability to go through these trials and tribulations, the things that the enemy thought he was going to take us out with, are the very things that God uses so that it's for our good and his glory. And if you look at even situations in your life, when you look back on the things that God has done in your life, I will guarantee you 100%, if you've been able to see what it is, right? Because there's still a lot of things in my life that happen that I'm like, haven't had that. I don't understand the so that moment, right? Not yet. But there are moments in your life that you can look back and go, wow, if that hadn't happened, I would not be where I'm at today. I would not be the person that I am today. It kind of is that, my dad, before my dad passed away back in 2022, 23, I asked him, I was like, Dad, do you have any regrets? Like, is there anything that, like, if you could go back and change anything, would you change anything? And he was like, no, Adriana, he said, I am who I am today because of everything that I've gone through and what the Lord has brought me through. And that has stuck with me. I am just like, wow, it's so true that when you look back, I mean, we are who we are today because of the things that happened to us. Now, we are the ones that get to choose if we are living in bitterness, unforgiveness, in anxiety, in fear, in doubt, in depression, oppression. We get to choose that. Each one of us have a choice. Or we can choose to honor God and love God and honor his commandments, and then live in peace and joy and love and forgiveness and not have to worry about anything in this world, especially if we are trusting in the Lord. So if you'd like to join me on these God so that moments journey in my life and the journey throughout the Bible, so many God so that moments in this word of God right here. And that I'm going to be diving into the things that, had to happen so that God's will could be done in the lives of his children. And it's always, always, always for our good and his glory. That is ultimately God's so that moments. If this video ministered to you in any way, give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button along with the bell button so you're notified every single time that I put up one of these encouraging so that moments. Let me know in the comments section below if this video ministered to you in any way, or if you are going through something and you need some prayer. I would be more than happy to pray for you. Until next video, y'all be blessed. Bye.